Hi, I'm Amy Bach, the Executive Director and co-founder of United Policyholders, and I'm so pleased to be here today with one of our sponsors, a new-ish sponsor that we're so glad to have connected with because he has experience in both from in Gulf Coast states where hurricanes are common and now is based in San Diego, California with the law office of Evan W. Walker. So Evan, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Thank you for supporting our organization and for sharing your expertise on an issue that has come up for a lot of California residents this winter. And that is, if a tree falls on your property, will your insurance company pay for the damage and to get you back where you were before? So thank you so much, Evan. And if you want to say, a welcoming comment, that's
Sure. No, thanks for your kind words. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of your important organization. To answer that question, generally speaking, the answer is yes. So you need to think about what type of policy you have. In most cases, a policy is going to be what's called an all-peril policy. Now, that's almost a misnomer because it doesn't mean all perils. It means all perils unless they're excluded. So that's a helpful way to think about this type of policy. But with an all peril policy, generally speaking, tree damage are not going to be one of the perils that are excluded. So it should be covered, right? The other type of policy to keep in mind is a named peril policy, which says that the insurance company will only cover named perils. And I think in even that instance, tree damage should be covered because it should be a named peril.
So, okay, so for a homeowner, they generally, if the tree falls, they can expect that the insurer is gonna cover it. But what about is it happen that that the damage may not exceed their deductible? Do you see that happening here in California where we still have deductibles that are under control? There are some states where deductibles have gotten so high that it does knock out a lot more claims, but in here in California where you practice?
I mean, it really just depends. I mean, it depends on the type of tree, the size of the tree, where is the tree landing, right? Is a tree going to land on your driveway and smash your car? Is a tree going to fall in a backyard and the only kind of damage is the cost to chop up and remove the tree? Or is a tree going to fall into your, God forbid, your bedroom, right? Or is it going to fall on the neighbor? So it really is a case by case specific because you need to see what actual damage is the tree causing.
Okay, so what's the first step for a homeowner who's had a tree fall on their property?
Yeah, so the first step for a homeowner is to call the insurance company. I mean, one of the principal rules to know is that, again, generally speaking, all policies of insurance are going to have a duty to cooperate. And what does that mean? That means anytime a policyholder is on notice of a potential claim or damage, or there is a claim or there is damage, they have a duty to call the insurance company, arguably immediately. So you never want to be in a situation where, let's say for this example, the tree falls and you just wait 6 months. You're busy with the kids, you're busy with the job. We're all busy, I get it. But let's just say you don't do anything for 6 months. You call up the insurance company and say, hey, I need you to take care of this. They could, in good faith, say, you know what, our rights are prejudiced. You didn't cooperate with us. You waited too long. We're not going to cover the claim.
Okay, so being prompt with notifying them. What about, isn't there like a $500 a tree limit in most policies? Does that apply? Or is that just for for things after a fire that get burned?
Yeah, great question. Don't know the answer to that, but it's a great point in this regard is that your relationship with the insurance company is a contractual relationship. So what does that mean? It means everyone's rights and duties, generally speaking, are going to be spelled out in the policy. That's the contract between you and the insurance company. So basically, whatever is written into the policy, that's what goes. So that's what both parties have to go by.
So for a homeowner who's had a tree fall on their property, the first thing they're going to do is notify their insurance company. But then also read their policy and see if there is something they need to be aware of. But usually the insurer is going to point it out to you. What about if the tree actually falls on your house and damages your house? Is there a different consideration with insurance if it just falls on the ground and there's no damage other than you've lost a tree versus it's fallen on your house and physically damaged the house? Is there a difference in those kind of claims?
I think there could be a difference, again, depending on a policy. So let's say the tree falls on the house itself. So you're dealing with damage that's going to be covered, generally speaking, under coverage A, right, which is your dwelling. So that's going to have a separate line item deductible, right? And so any exclusions, any conditions that are applicable specifically to coverage A, that's what you have to look at, right?
Okay.
In that instance.
All right. So how about if you're if a tree that's on your property falls on your neighbor? Is it your obligation on your neighbor's property, rather? Not on your neighbor, on your neighbor.
Well, I've kind of seen that, so I hear it.
Okay. So is it your obligation to notify your insurance company right away, my tree has fallen on my neighbor's property? Or do you wait and see if your neighbor's going to make a claim?
100% for the same reason we talked a few minutes ago. Anytime there's a potential of a claim, right, or damage, whether that's, first part, whether that's section 1 property damage, section 2 liability, which is where claims would fall, you have a duty to notify your insurance company. So let's revisit that example we gave a few minutes ago. Let's say now, instead of the tree falling on your property, it falls on your neighbor's property, but it's your neighbor's summer vacation home. They're not there. You're busy with the kids. You're busy with work. And then, you don't tell your insurance company until your neighbor comes back during the summer. They see the damage. They make a claim against you. So now it's 10 months later, you call up the insurance company and say, hey, good chance that the insurance company will deny that claim and say, this happened 10 months ago. You never told us. It's too late.
Right. Okay. So whether the tree is fallen on your property or somebody else's, prompt notice to the insurer is important. How about finding the right kind of professional to remove the tree, fix the damage? Is it the homeowners? Is it on the homeowner to do that, or can they expect the insurance adjuster to do that?
Meaning, if we're dealing with tree damage that's falling on the insured's property or the third party's property?
Okay, let's start with that. If the tree has fallen on my property, is it my obligation to hire an arborist or a contractor or a landscaping company and get it removed? Or can I rely on my insurance company to take care of that?
So let me give a little kind of nuanced answer to that. It's nuanced for this reason. The insurance company, going back to the policy of insurance, they have the duty to pay and address a covered peril. All right. So we're assuming that in this scenario, the tree that falls, it's a covered peril, the damage is therefore covered. In that instance, the insurance company is contractually obligated. They're supposed to step in and remove the tree, restore any damage, things like that. Right now, that doesn't mean, so what the insurance company should do in that scenario is bring out the qualified professionals. Everyone should be licensed. Everyone should be insured. However, that doesn't mean that the policyholder can kind of just sit back and throw their hands up and say, you know what, insurance company, you kind of do your thing. Here's what I mean, because I would say my recommendation would be just don't expect the insurance company to hire not necessarily the best, but the competent workers, the licensed workers, everything out there, right? So if it's me and I have these people coming up, I would want to see what's your license number, right? Give me proof of your insurance, kind of do my own due diligence and just not expect that just because these people are hired by the insurance company, they're competent and qualified and licensed to do the job.
So do your own homework too, to make sure that the whoever it is that's doing the repairs is somebody you feel comfortable with and has the right right qualifications. Okay, good. So, and then we've talked about what happens if a tree falls on your property. No damage, you still make a claim. No structural damage. We've talked about what happens if a tree falls on your property and causes physical damage as well. It's the same process. We've talked about if the tree falls on your neighbor's property, again, prompt notice, and then being a diligent consumer, making sure that the insurer is acting promptly and adjusting your claim fairly. So you specialize in counseling and representing policyholders, right? People who have a loss and then are looking to their insurance company for compensation. What kind of problems might people run into with a fallen tree claim with their insurance?
So yeah, so part of my practice is in assisting clients with significant property damage claims. Now, with that said, I provide free consults to people through all kind of legal issues if they contact me. One of the questions I get often is, this tree is about to fall. What do I do? And that kind of ties into your question. So in a situation like that, that is not going to fall under what's called Section 1 property damage. It's going to be Section 2 liability. And here's the thing that gets really interesting. So if you're the policyholder and it's your tree that's about to fall, you're kind of in a tough spot, right? So if you, I would put my insurance company on notice, and then maybe do some type of steps to try to lessen the probability that it's going to fall, maybe getting it trimmed or things like this. Sending a qualified arborist out there to do some trimming and, possibly taking some mitigation steps to prevent that. What you don't want to do is to take the ostrich defense of just kind of say, there's nothing I can do about it. Because then if it falls and it damages the neighbor's property or the neighbor's person, we talked about that a minute ago. I mean, that was really a case that happened here in San Diego. If that happens, that's a whole different ball game, because now you're dealing with, some serious damage, especially if it injures a person. Exactly. Right. And so now that goes into a separate part of the policy. It's called the Section 2, the liability piece. But that's when you're dealing with third-party claims. And so people on both sides of that dispute, the injured parties and the possibly responsible parties, really have to be on top of that issue, especially now, like you said in the beginning, given all the rain and all the trees now that are coming up that are being uprooted, and they're actually harming some people and homes.
Yeah. So, and I know, United Policyholders gets, we have this amicus project where we weigh in legal disputes that have gone up on appeal. So I know that the question of whether an insurer will pay for an imminent loss to prevent something from happening, there are a lot of fights about it, right? Insurers will push back and say it's not covered in a lot of situations. For example, a house that is in danger of sliding down a hill. Very often, I think, we've been involved in some fights where the insurer says we're not going to pay. But can a homeowner who thinks that a tree looks like it's in danger of falling, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that an insurer would have to pay to shore up a house that's sliding. It's much more manageable dollar amount. Could we expect an insurer to maybe come in and say, okay, we'll pay to take that tree down? Or is that just not something that's realistic for the homeowner to think?
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic, because I think the insurance company could argue that's going to enter into a slippery slope. To your point, look, if we do this, and then the policyholders are going to be asking us to do this next. So that's a step, I think, in a step in a direction the insurance companies don't want to go. Yeah. But to your point, I think the policyholders, if they're on notice that, I would advise them to you got to be careful, but to take steps, right? Because if this tree does fall 3 months from now, 6 months from now, if you're on the receiving end of that fall, either to your body or your home, you could argue that tree owner knew about it
Yeah.
and they didn't do anything.
Anything
And
about
that's
it.
where the negligence comes into play.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered the key points about that, you know, your basic home policy should cover a fallen tree damage, but that you want to be stay on top of your claim. You want to be prompt with the notice. You want to make sure that the professionals that the insurer brings in are qualified. Is there anything that we've left out about what a property owner should know if a tree falls on their property or on someone else's?
No, I think we covered everything. It's just important for everyone to know, the best you can cooperate with your insurance company making these claims, and make sure as best as you can, you understand the policy and don't just assume that what the insurance company is telling you is the final word on it.
Right, right. Trust but verify. Well, very
Right.
good. Thank you so much, Evan, for your time and
Thank you.
expertise and for being involved with our organization. And, you know, this winter, I think, you know, up and down California, we've seen some mighty trees fall. It's pretty heartbreaking and scary. So it's good to know that people have a reasonable expectation that as long as they've got insurance, that they will have some funds to you know, to restore their property if it gets damaged. And I thank you so much and look forward to staying in touch with you and hoping that this recording will be helpful to our viewing policyholders. So thanks again for your time.
All right. Thank you. Take care.